Welcome back. So getting down to the last few things on my list to do. So this was an oil change that I needed to do. I only put about 30 hours on the engine since the last one, but before first flight I wanted to get that done. So I'm draining the oil right now, and then I showed you last time back in there is where the oil filter is, so you have to actually take that cap off there, and it's really difficult to kind of show you where it is, but yeah, that cap down in there, that has to come off, and I had the big socket that I got last time and the extension in order to get that out of there. So I went and did that, and that's already been done actually, so it didn't capture me undoing it. So there's the filter that was in it, all nice and black as it gets. And I think a lot of that blackness is because I was running the fuel sort of rich there on the very first part of that oil change. So the other thing I want to do is remove the pressure sensor that I had on that fuel pump, and then when I did, I actually closed off this shut-off valve here, and as soon as I closed it, it started leaking right at that sort of bottom join there. I was like, well, that's great. And that was that same valve that I had on the last one there. You can see it from the other side that also leaked, but the other one was leaking from the pivot arm that actually closes the valve. So this one's leaking from a different spot. But anyway, those valves are just junk. So I ordered another couple of them because I got one more of those still in the cabin, and obviously I had to wait for the next day for them to come. So there's that pressure valve that I took out of there, and yeah, it was just basically bolted in there where that little nut was, and I just didn't see a need to have it in there anymore. It would just be bouncing around, which is unnecessary. And there's the other valve, so that one is not leaking yet, and I shut it off there and it didn't start leaking, and there's the one that I replaced last time that was leaking. So I figured, oh well, getting close to first flight and all of a sudden I got fuel leaks, which is ridiculous. And then this here's the drain valve for getting any water out of the header tank. So I went and took some fuel out of that the other day, and then all of a sudden that thing won't seal. I'm like, god damn. So a bit of messing around, and I got that one to seal again. It's got a little bit of moisture coming out of it, but anyway. So this is the other power converter that I was waiting from, because I got two, and the last one was sort of shipped separately, so that one needs to go in place there. And I've already drilled the holes and stuff for it, so I just got to wire that one up. And that didn't take long because I pretty much had everything already done. So I just crimp those extensions and the connectors on there, and then use the heat gun to shrink the tubing around there that comes with the connectors. So that was done and got that wired in place, so the glow plug should be all good to go now. And it's pretty nice having Summit Racing just a day away. So I ordered these things on Thursday, and they were here today, Friday. Just two of those new valves. So there's the one that was in the back area there, the large one, and there's the replacement, slightly smaller, but the same thing. Although you'll see a little bit later, even though they have AN8 connections, the newer one actually seems to have a smaller flow through on it. So this was leaking there where my finger is, and the other one was leaking there where the pivot arm is. So yeah, don't buy Aeroflow valves. They are just complete junk. In fact, I wouldn't buy anything from them anymore, from that brand name. It's just junk. So you can see I got the new one in there. Unfortunately, I was able to set up everything so there wasn't any fuel there. With that loop that I have in the hose there, I can get it high enough that no fuel comes out of the header tank. But needless to say, I had 7 gallons of fuel in either tank now, because I've been filling that up ready for first flight. And now I want to change that valve that's in there, and I got 7 gallons of fuel in this tank. So that's a bit of a pain. So what I've managed to do is figure out if I leave that valve open there, and I shut the one on the tank on the other side, and then I run my heat pump that I have that circulates the fuel from the header tank back to the straight tanks, and eventually what I'll end up doing is draining the fuel out of the left tank and putting it all into the right hand tank, because the right hand tank won't drain back to the header. So you can see there in the middle there, the fuel, I got 7 gallons in both tanks because I've done the calibrations up to 7 gallons. And I put my little heat pump on here, or flow pump there, and that'll start pumping the fuel out of the header tank and then back up into the straight tank. So with the one tank on the right hand side shut off, that will just not drain back into the header. The other one will drain back into the header, but eventually if I just keep doing it long enough, there won't be anything left in the header. It'll all be over in the right tank. So it took a while and a bit of messing around and stuff, but I did manage to slowly get it done, and the advantage was it allowed me to calibrate the right tank up to 14 gallons. So there you can see I've got 6 and 7 there, so I'm just getting underway, because it takes a while because I'm actually pumping fuel back into the left tank as well, but I let it drain back down, and then eventually it's going to empty out. So there you can see now I've got 2 gallons in the left, and the right tank's still showing 7 because I didn't calibrate it until it got the 7 gallons in it, until it was 14. So there's the one valve there. If you look in there, you can see that one. Well, it might be difficult to see, but that one actually has the same diameter as the thing there. It goes all the way through, so it should flow nicely, that one, but unfortunately it flows out everywhere it's not supposed to flow out. So yeah, belonging in trash can. And the other one, which is the new one, which doesn't leak anywhere yet, if you can see, well, you can see in there that there's a bit of a restriction in there. So it's not ideal, but at least these ones, the first one that I've had hasn't been leaking so far. And I don't understand that diesel fuel would cause it to leak. So finally I got all the fuel, 7 gallons over there in the right tank, and I calibrated that tank, and as you can see 14 gallons there and 0 in the left side, and then with no fuel in the left side I was able to change the valves out. So there's the 2 junk ones now. As I said before, Aeroflow, don't buy that stuff. And there's the new one in place there. So, and tested it, put some fuel against it, and it's not leaking so far. It's all nice and tightened up. So hopefully that's that problem sorted out. Anyway, that's the update for this week. Guys will be coming next week to check on things, so I'll have an update for you then. Thanks again for watching, and tune in again next time.